Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Roberto C. Goizueta Business School at Emory University. My name is J. Mike Moore. I work in the communications office here. I'm joined by Kathleen Edwards, who works in our MBA admissions office, particularly with the evening admissions office. But as Kathleen will tell you, they handle pretty much everything downstairs. So, Kathleen, welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to keep it open and take your questions. So many of you are online right now. But before we get started, I will go through some of the slides and discuss some of the key dates, let Kathleen chime in on some of the key topics here, and then we'll take it from there and answer questions as they come in. If we don't get to your question right away, don't panic. We also have some folks in the back that you cannot see behind camera that will be answering questions as well. And then as always, we'll archive this video and have a chance to reach out to you individually to follow up on your questions as well. We definitely want to make sure it gets answered as quickly as possible over the next couple of days. So we've already introduced ourselves, but this is a good time to talk a little bit about the Roberto Goizueta legacy. I think there's been a lot said about lately as we have a new dean, Dean Erica James, very much pushing the values of this school and what it meant to be named after Roberto Goizueta. If you do not know, Roberto Goizueta was a longtime CEO of Coke. The story goes, came to America with $40 in his pocket from Cuba and lived the American dream. And we certainly embody his values in doing business the right way here at Goizueta. So the next slide that should be coming up are events. Kathleen, would you like to go through some of the events that are coming up in the near future?
Sure. Well, absolutely. Goizueta is on the road at the moment. This summer we are hitting the road, getting near you to meet you in your city at MBA fairs across the country and globally as well. So you can look at our worldwide recruiting calendar to see some of those dates and see when we'll be in your area. We'll be in Atlanta at the MBA tour tonight. And also out on the West Coast later this week or next week. So we've got some events coming up on campus. I believe you can see the dates there. For our Super Saturday event this fall will be a significant event for the full-time MBA programs, the 2-year and 1-year. And then we'll also have a lot of evening and executive MBA events on campus coming up this fall as well. So we're in the transition time from summer to fall recruiting season kicking off for next year's class, and so you'll see all those dates being updated online and over email frequently.
You should also be seeing them on your screen now, and if not, or if it's a little delay, you'll have this information emailed out to you later. So let's first talk about evening deadlines, Kathleen. This is your area of expertise. What would you recommend to someone who is interested in the evening program? Should they be doing right now?
Sure, absolutely. So for the evening MBA program right now, you have a little bit of time before we get into high gear with the application season, which means that it's a perfect time to really be focusing on the time-consuming part of the application, which for most people is the GMAT or GRE test. So this is a great time to be setting a study plan and setting an ideal test date so you can back up from that to give yourself enough time to study and prepare to get your application in and ready for your target round date. So if you see the round dates on the slide there, you'll see that the first one is coming up in the fall, October 31st, and then the other 4 will be in the spring and summer. So most of our applicants do apply later on, but that gives you plenty of time to give yourself at least a couple of months to prepare for the GMAT or GRE. That's a great time frame. If you want to take a 6 or 8 week course, that's a great way to give it your best shot possible to really do some in-depth preparation. Or if you feel you can manage your own self-study schedule on your own, there are lots of free resources online through MBA.com. We have some YouTube videos as well, since you're already on our channel. If you're looking at this, you may see some other GMAT prep videos with Stephanie Espy, an alumna of our full-time program. So that really is a great time to do that. You can also be thinking about who you would like to use as your recommenders. You might want to mention the MBA interest to them so they can be getting excited for you and thinking about what they'll say to us in terms of your professional readiness and the way you've impacted the organization. And also little things like you can get online and order some transcripts from your undergraduate or any other graduate institution. That can be happening simultaneously as you do other things.
Great advice. Again, it's the same as we go on to pull up the executive MBA deadlines. Same application for all programs. So everything that Kathleen mentioned there will apply for everywhere in terms of getting recommenders and et cetera. We do have one question that has come in, and it has actually to do with the GMAT, as you just said. I took the GMAT 5 years ago. Do I need to take it again? What is the statute of limitations, I guess they would say, for the GMAT?
So I don't think you're going to like my answer, but the answer is yes, you do need to take it again. So the test score, either GMAT or GRE, does need to be considered, does need to be a valid score, which means it needs to be under 5 years old. So that 5-year mark is basically an expiration date, unfortunately. So it's really all about giving us your most current information possible as well. So just putting that prep time in, you should be able to replicate, hopefully, what was a 5-year-old successful score. You should be able to aim for that same mark again. But we do understand that it's a bit time consuming. It's a lot of effort that goes into the test prep, and we appreciate that. So unfortunately, yes, you do need to take the test again, but hopefully it will go smoothly.
Anything particular for the executive MBA students? There are some slight differences in program. Two types. There are weekend executive MBA and also a modular where you come to campus, I believe, once a quarter, approximately. But anything that those students may be looking to do right now if you're interested in that program?
Yeah, one piece that's unique to the executive MBA application is the opportunity for a GMAT waiver. So that is a separate process. All the steps are listed on our website, but something you could be doing now is going ahead and submitting your information to be reviewed for a GMAT waiver. So that would help. You can do that before you submit the rest of your application. You can get a decision back from the committee, and that will determine whether or not you need to move forward with test prep, or if you can move forward with the rest of your application and you're exempt from the test requirement. So that is unique to the executive MBA committee and program. It's just a slight difference. But if you are considering applying to the executive program as well as our evening or full-time programs, you still would need to submit a valid test score to be considered for those other programs. But we do encourage applicants who are genuinely interested in multiple programs to apply for those. We'll ask you to rank order them in terms of preference, and that's more of a processing, internal logistics consideration for us, but it will also determine any kind of specific details and deadlines. You would go by your first preference program, deadlines, and processes. So the executive has we all have slightly different interview timelines, but the interview itself is very similar. So you would just go by dates and deadlines for your first preference program if you are applying to more than one.
So we've gone ahead and made the switch here. Now we're in the full-time MBA deadline. So these are the ones that are starting to already come up, right? I mean, they're already in October. That's a lot closer than you may think, unfortunately, to a lot of people who are looking to apply and getting things together. I'm seeing a few questions come in, but could you briefly describe, as we did with the others, what full-time students may be doing now, some of the travel, and then several international students on this chat, when they may be coming, a representative may be coming to their area of the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So the full-time MBA round deadlines have very clear guidelines in terms of which category you might fall into as for what type of applicant you are, and then that would determine which round you really want to aim for. So particularly if you're considering the 1-year full-time MBA program, or if you're an international student, you really want to focus on those earlier round deadlines, and you'll see those qualifications there. So at this point in the year, you should, if you haven't already taken the GMAT or GRE, that's probably something you're doing right now, getting ready for that. So we hope that that goes well, obviously. You're probably maybe already looking at your essay questions, working on those, mapping out your reasons for pursuing an MBA, your career plans, and how to communicate that to us. An opportunity that you have up until the round 2 deadline is to schedule an interview with us on campus. That's something you absolutely should take advantage of if you're near to Atlanta or in the Southeast, or if you plan to come in for a visit event, a campus visit, you can schedule an interview, request an interview appointment anytime up until that round 2 deadline, which is a great opportunity. If you're an international student, you're living in Latin America, we'll be there soon this fall. We'll be in Asia this fall as well. We'll be doing some fairs and events there. For India, we'll be there in the winter doing interviews, and particularly, so that would be a process where you've already submitted your application and then you've been invited to interview. So as we said, after once you get past that round 2 deadline, you can't schedule an interview on campus. You would need to have already submitted your application and then be invited to interview to complete out your application.
So that's a great question. It actually is coming in from an international student right now, saying that notice you suggest applying in round 2. Should they wait to the second round if they're ready now?
That's a great question. Really, in general terms, you should submit your application in the round in which you feel it's strongest and ready to go. So if you're ready now, absolutely go ahead and submit that application. If there's any reason that we need more information, the committee might request more information or encourage a retake if something like that. So it's smart to apply earlier, and then you have more time if you need to update your application file later for whatever reason. But absolutely, if you feel that your application is strong and ready to go, you're happy with it, send it in, get it out of the way, and then you'll hear back from us on those specific notification dates that are listed in that round spreadsheet.
But after round 2 is when interviews come by request to the applicant only.
Correct.
Okay, another question. Let's stay in the area of international students. So this question is coming from China, but I think it's a great question just in general about work experience. So for those that may not have as much work experience, what is the suggestion to put in the application and how to explain that? Because again, everything is considered beyond work experience. So what do you tell a prospective student that may not have as many years of work experience applying to the full-time program in particular, but really any program?
Sure. Well, anytime that you're communicating your work experience to the committee, you want to make sure you provide as much information as possible about a couple of different areas. First of all, your impact on the organization, as well as your exposure to different areas within an organization. So functional experience, whether it was specific to one particular area, if it's a deep experience or if it's a broad experience. Anything that you can do to communicate that through your resume, through your essays, absolutely, through your recommenders. You want to make sure that you are choosing recommenders that really have worked closely with you and can speak effectively to your workplace personality, how you handle challenges, again, how you've impacted the organization and how you've been proactive, learned, gained experience even within a short amount of time. So in providing them with the information as to why you want to pursue an MBA at this point, why you feel you're ready in your career to make that kind of decision, that is helpful to them to provide an in-depth, well thought out recommendation form to us. That's always helpful to the committee. And again, with the resume, you want to make sure obviously that you keep it within reasonable limits. You shouldn't need more than one page, particularly if you only have 2 or 3 years of work experience. But tell us your responsibilities within that organization, how you were able to make an impact in terms of whether it's revenue generation, whatever that success measure is for you in the workplace, providing that information to us. And yeah, I think those are probably the 2 biggest things, particularly if you have fewer than 3 years of work experience. We need to see how you've grown and really been able to get some tangible experience that you'll be able to bring into the classroom and also be able to translate later on in terms of your impact during an internship period or when you're talking to interviewers and hiring managers in the future. So the combination of a few years of work experience, 3 to 5 years of work experience plus the MBA is such a strong foundation for your future employment that's a big part of why we require work experience. It's not just about keeping people out or making you wait to get your MBA. It's really about setting you up for success, not only in your classroom experience, that you're going to be drawing on that professional experience within the classroom and being able to combine the 2, but then also the readiness that you have in the hiring manager's eyes to hit the ground running. That combination of the MBA and your previous work experience should set you up for great success, definitely.
Thank you all for the great questions. We have the folks in the back answering online directly. They're coming in here. I'm doing my best to keep my head straight. Let's change gears for a little bit, though, because we have a few questions coming in, particularly about the evening program. And we'll tackle them both at the same time, if that works. So one is, how long is the program? Can they finish early? And then how many classes does an evening MBA student usually take a semester? So the basic I guess say nuts and bolts
Mm-hmm.
of going into the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Emory's Evening MBA program was established almost 20 years ago now. We are a well organized, in-depth program at this point, and it was really designed with the idea of delivering the full MBA experience on a working professional schedule so that you don't have to sacrifice your career growth while also pursuing your education. So the way we're able to deliver that is by fitting it into your evenings, as the name is clearly says. So you can expect that your standard schedule is that you will be here on campus, in person, in the classroom, 2 evenings per week, typically, and that's year round. So you're taking 2 classes at a time. So if you're here on Monday night for marketing and then Wednesday night for economics, you can expect that for the semester, and then the next semester you would change into 2 different courses. The typical length of the program is 8 semesters or 32 months. There is some flexibility there, though. You have absolutely a lot of different ways to accelerate the program. The minimum length of the program would be 24 months, which is fairly aggressive. It means possibly taking 3 courses in one term or taking advantage of what we call our ACE courses, which is an accelerated course elective, which is compressed into the break between the fall and spring semester, so you're taking a full semester class in 3 weeks over the winter break. But a lot of students, what they'll do is accelerate a little bit and finish in 27 months, so that's 7 semesters, and that's pretty common. But you have a lot of flexibility and control in terms of your schedule so that you can fit in things like if you're promoted at work and taking on new responsibilities, you can either maintain the standard schedule or take a lighter load, or if you want to accelerate some to give yourself a lighter schedule later on when you might be interviewing for new jobs, things like that, you have that flexibility. If something comes up and you need to take some time off, you have that option as well, and technically have up to 5 years to finish the program, so you have plenty of time. That's not common at all, but it is becoming more common for students to maybe stretch it out a little bit, add an extra semester or 2 because they've taken on new job opportunities, or maybe they had an assignment. We have one student who's moving to London for a year. We've had students who were doing just big hands-on projects maybe at a different location of their company, and so took a semester or 2 off, and then were able to come back and complete that later on. So flexibility, particularly within your elective courses, but typically most students finish in 27 or 32 months.
So I know that this question comes up sometimes with the evening or the evening program specifically. I know on the website we do post the class profiles, the average of what students look like, including GMAT. The GRE average is not posted yet, I believe, and that was one question. Could you explain why that is?
Sure. The GRE, we're just wrapping up our 2nd full year of accepting the GRE in addition to the GMAT. This coming year will be our 3rd year. And really it was done with my goal of broadening our applicant pool and just making it more accessible for a lot of students who have already taken the GRE. Maybe they went through Masters of Public Health, looked at other programs as well, and then are considering the MBA in addition to that. So it's not a huge percentage of our applicant pool, which is why you won't see averages posted online. There's just simply not enough data to give you an accurate, meaningful, useful number. But what you can do in terms of understanding where we expect our successful applicants to fall into in terms of GRE score is use an online tool, which is a GMAT GRE conversion tool. And you can just Google that. It's provided by ETS, which is the company that runs the GRE. So that's a useful way that you can plug in a GRE score and see the kind of estimated GMAT matchup score and gauge that on our 80% ranges, our averages for all of our programs. But typically for the evening program, our average GMAT tends to be 635, 640, which translates, I believe, into around a 315, 320 GRE score. But again, it's still a small enough percentage of our applicant pool that we just don't feel the data justifies publishing an average.
Great, thank you. So 2 questions related to career. I think, again, we're all about efficiency, so we want to combine these as best as possible to make sure we answer as many questions as possible during our time period. So one is an international student who wants to get into product management, and that leads into just the types of careers that may come out of an MBA program. But in general, can we take the opportunity to talk about the Career Services Center and what alumni have gone on to do? We're very proud of our Career Management Center here at Goizueta and the jobs our interns get, or our graduates get.
Mm-hmm.
Types of careers, what people can expect out of the CMC, and then
Mm-hmm.
also internships
Okay.
and working with internships as well.
Sure. Is the question coming from full-time focus or evening focus or everyone?
Everyone. I
Okay.
would say one is full time. You know what? We'll just say both are full time. But it
Okay.
is important to note that the career
Yeah.
services are available across
Everyone.
all
Yeah.
programs. It's not like you would be missing out on anything if you
Mm-hmm.
went to one or another.
Yeah, sure. And I asked that there's definitely a lot of overlap in terms of the career success stories and the career resources for all of our students. But with the full-time program, it's obviously much more structured and built into your experience here because you've left a job and you need to get a new one probably for most of you. But that process starts before you even get to campus. As soon as you decide that you're enrolling at Goizueta, you'll be in touch with the Career Management Center to start building your profile, to start working with your coaches to make sure that you're on the right track to setting up that internship for the 2-year students, because that process happens very quickly and our students have been absolutely very successful, 100% placement rate for interns for the past few years. So that's a process that we've got down, and you have a lot of opportunities to make sure you're in an internship that aligns with your career plans overall, and should be very educational and definitely interesting and worthwhile for your experience. And then that working with the CMC, the Career Management Center, happens throughout your 2 years. So spend a lot of time developing those professional skills through formalized coursework, professional development course, career treks so that you have opportunities to go to either areas in Atlanta or other parts of the country and potentially even internationally to meet with companies and meet with alumni and leaders in particular companies and industry areas that you might be interested in. So it's very common we go to New York for finance, marketing. We go to the West Coast for technology. There are a lot of opportunities that you have for really face-to-face interaction with companies as well as alumni recruiters. So that happens off campus as well as on campus. Obviously, that's really an important part of the career process here is to interact with companies as they come to campus, to tell you more about the positions they have, the organization, and also for you to brand yourself and interact and network with those employers too, oftentimes who are alumni who are coming back to recruit more Goizueta students, and that relationship has been a huge success factor in terms of our very strong placement rates for the past several years with our full-time MBA graduates, very strong results in a variety of areas within consulting, as well as brand and marketing and finance as well too. But then a variety of different other options too. So it just depends on which track you're interested in, and the career coaches are there to help advise you if it's which kind of route they're going in terms of the company recruiters coming to campus at the more formal times, or if it's a just-in-time kind of hire. So you have a lot of individualized and tailored support in that sense.
Great. So let's talk about electives. We're not just all about the core classes, although we have fantastic faculty and really educate great minds in that regard. And we're also part of a larger university, Emory University, which is world renowned for its medical school, law school, and all the liberal arts training that it takes on here. So in particular, are there chances to work with the medical school or law school as part of an MBA program? And then also a little bit about how many electives we do offer.
Yeah. Well, there's such a variety in terms of popular elective courses that you may create in your own mind and be able to develop with a faculty member. You really have the ability to delve deeply into your particular interest area and try something completely new as well and really challenge yourself. So typically there's over 90 different elective courses offered. So you're more likely to have a problem with too many courses you really want to take and not enough time, as opposed to not being able to get into a course or something like that, not being able to find a class you're excited about. You do have the opportunity to take courses outside of Goizueta, outside of the business school. You can take up to 2 courses elsewhere within Emory University at another school. But a lot of courses are already cross-listed. So a lot of courses that you may be interested in may already be cross-listed with the law school, like negotiations or business law, things like that, as well as with Rollins, our School of Public Health, which is a very highly ranked program in its own right. And so there's a lot of interaction in terms of healthcare management and those healthcare courses. So we have 4 that are housed within Goizueta specifically, and then 4, I believe more than 4 that are cross-listed with Rollins too. You'll also may have MD, MBAs in your classroom, students who are pursuing their medical degree, or JD MBAs, MDiv MBAs with Candler School of Theology down the hill. There are a lot of opportunities to interact with experts and people pursuing their education in different areas outside of business. And it's so important to diversify that conversation in the classroom and diversify your exposure so that you can be effective decision makers, taking into consideration all these different things that business really affects. We're not in a silo. It's absolutely interacting with all different types of industries and types of audiences in that sense. What was the rest of the question? Some interesting electives.
I believe it's 90 plus electives.
90
right?
plus,
that people have access to while they're in the program. So there's certainly an opportunity to go into any area that you would like. One other unique thing that we do at Goizueta, and this is the full applies particularly the full-time program, is you get your core classes out of the way in one semester.
Right.
Then that leaves you ample time to delve into any sort of interesting thing you may find on the course catalog, or to tailor to what that career is.
And really what I've been talking to some students as we've been out on the road who are doing their internships right now, and that ability to take elective courses before the internship has made a huge difference in their impactfulness in the organization and also their readiness for that internship. So to be able to take electives in the area, in your career area, or particularly if it's a change for you, has been really beneficial, and the employers as well as the students have seen a difference and a positive benefit to that structure change for us.
Great. So one question that I think is pretty important in terms of prerequisites. So are there any prerequisites required to entering the programs?
Sure. So I try to explain it this way, that there are no prerequisites to apply, but there are prerequisites to enroll. So when you're working on your application, one of the questions you'll see on the form is when you've taken accounting, statistics, microeconomics, and corporate finance, if you're interested in the one-year program as well. So those are courses that if you have not taken, it's not a problem in the application process, but then if you are admitted, the committee will require you to fulfill those courses through our online foundation courses that we offer to you, plus an in-person session during the orientation process. So there's no prerequisites to apply. You can be admitted without having ever taken accounting, but if you're admitted and choose to enroll, you'll need to take that accounting foundation course that we provide before classes actually start. And accounting is the tricky one too, just because it's the faculty requirement is that it should be recent because it's such time-sensitive material. So a lot of students will end up being required to take accounting, even if they've already taken the course in undergrad, and then statistics, microeconomics, and corporate finance are the other areas.
Great. Now another nuts and bolts question, I guess you ask. Assuming you receive positive news, you are admitted to the program, how soon after that notification is the student expected to respond? So what does that look like once you get that admissions letter? What's the rest of the path?
Sure, yeah.
And how quickly to respond?
One of the nice things about being on rounds and our round schedule is that you have all that information right in front of you on the website right now. So you know that if you get everything in by the round 1 deadline, you'll hear back from us with a decision on the notification date, and then we'll expect to hear back from you with your enrollment decision by that deposit deadline. So you can see it all on the rounds schedule timeline. It's typically 2 weeks to a month. It just depends on what time of year it is, which program you're applying to. Right now with the evening program, we have a 1 week turnaround because this is the absolute last round, and so we need to get everything in and decided before classes start. But typically you have at least 3 to 4 weeks to make that decision. And so the enrollment deposit that you submit is credited towards your first semester tuition, so it's not a huge out-of-pocket expense. But it is important to let us know. And if you decide that not to enroll in Goizueta, unfortunately, that's a horrible decision, but we need to know about it. No, I'm just kidding. But we know that you probably have applied to more than one school, and you're making that decision. If you need an extension, you can request that. From us, you can email and request that extension for whatever reason it is. You just need to provide that information, and we may or may not be able to be flexible with you. But certainly, let us know and let your other schools know too. It's a two-way street, and communication is really important. If you have concerns or questions, we want to help answer those and address that. But we need to hear from you either way. And hopefully, it's great news, and it's an easy decision, and you're able to get that deposit in and get started in the fall.
Kathleen, another question coming from one of our viewers. What does the reapplication process look like? So, for example, if I'm not accepted in round one, can I reapply in round two, or must I wait until the next year?
All of our admission decisions are final. So if you are not admitted in that application cycle, you will need to wait until the next year to reapply. If that's what one of the things we really try to carefully consider is if someone is a strong applicant in a lot of ways, but there's some weakness that they can work on. We try to use the waitlist option as an opportunity to add to or strengthen your application file within that year before we make a final decision. But unfortunately, if you're not admitted for that year, then you would need to wait until the next year to reapply. But we certainly do encourage reapplicants, and there typically are reapplicants every year who are successful. And it's important to make sure that you sit down, assess your application, look at our profile, see where you could strengthen and add to your application file, and take it seriously and try to show us what's changed over the past year. So in terms of the actual process, it's spelled out on the website. It involves typically a new essay to update your file, what's going on, if your responsibilities at work have changed, if anything has changed, any new information like a new test score or an additional recommendation I think is helpful. To believe our interviews are valid for I think up to 2 years, but typically when I'm talking with reapplicants, I encourage you to go ahead and schedule a new interview as well to make sure that all of our information is current and up to date. So you'll complete a new application form, the reapplicant essay, and then we pull together all your transcripts and previous test scores. You don't need to resubmit some of the hard copy number things. We hang on to those in our files. But as I said, it's important to show us what's changed, what's improved, and make sure that we have all the most current information in terms of your career plans, your reasoning for pursuing the MBA, and any other changes since your previous application. So, but we definitely encourage that. There's no prejudice against a reapplicant in any way.
Thanks, Kathleen. A quick chance, I just want to say special thanks to the young ladies we have in the back answering questions. They are just answering more questions than we possibly could answer on air. I think we might put them out here next time and talk through everything. But again, thanks. And again, if you don't get your question answered, there will be a chance for our admissions office to follow up with you. We'll post these answers online, a video form, etc. This is a great question, particularly about our social enterprise program, and it's been in the news lately for some of the great work that Professor Peter Roberts and his team has done to take business to places that need it, basically, and business acumen and business skills to developing nations and developing industries. So the question is, I have an MPA and a finance background. I want to be able to work in social enterprise to merge both my nonprofit and business background. What are the career prospects for a social enterprise program?
Social enterprise is such an exciting area, and it's an umbrella term that covers a few different things. So it can be something like microfinance. It can be typically social entrepreneurship, which would be something like starting a business with those considerations in mind, whether it's sustainability or human impact, all those different things, social responsibility. And then there's the corporate social responsibility, which is larger organizations thinking about how their triple bottom line in terms of people, planet, and profit. So there are a few different routes to go, and that's something that you have a great resource in terms of our Center for Social Enterprise, which is led by Professor Peter Roberts, as we said, who's the academic head. He's really spearheaded so many really interesting initiatives. There's so much going on with that center. I don't know how they keep it all straight. It's really exciting. There's the Farmers to 40 project in Nicaragua that's been ongoing for a few years now, and really making an impact in terms of improving the financial health of the farmers there who are providing coffee. So Farmers to 40 coffee, if you have an opportunity, it's really good coffee and with a great business, a healthy business model as well. And then if local opportunities to develop entrepreneurs within small communities in the Atlanta area, Clarkston, East Point, really developing people within the community to start their own small business, which makes an impact in the community as a whole in so many different ways. So in terms of career and internship opportunities, that's a great place to go to look at these different organizations, whether your route is CSR or if it's something more like microfinance. There are absolutely opportunities there as well. So that's part of what they're also doing is becoming a knowledge center. So becoming a database center for all those different types of opportunities. And as those kinds of employment opportunities expand, this is really a center to be able to tap into that and to attract those different kind of people, so you get the conversation and the knowledge in one place, because it's an expanding area. It's still there's not a pipeline yet, but I think it really is happening, and we have more and more alumni who are working in different versions of social enterprise. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, one thing that it strikes me about it, one thing that's really great, this is real business. I mean, this is microfinance and working with loans to help people start their businesses. So there's entrepreneurship mixed in there. There's finance mixed in there. There's marketing. So how do you get the terms out of if you want to do good while you're doing business. So a lot of students that I've talked with, they may not end up necessarily working for a nonprofit, but getting that experience helps them work in maybe a smaller company and then also apply that to helping others, and say, I want to go out and through my connections in business, I want to go out and I want to work in with entrepreneurs from developing nations or small towns in America. So, there's a lot of things that could get expanded from there.
That's what I would say in terms of social enterprise work. The network is so vital because it's not a pipeline where you're going into, there's not an iBanking track like there is an iBanking track as opposed to social enterprise, but we have alumni in Kenya doing micro insurance, which is, such an interesting thing to be able to provide insurance for small business owners. There are things and families, and then certainly with the nonprofit realm, but there is so much going on with actual business and social enterprise. So it's all about those conversations.
Another question for the evening program. I'm just bouncing you around from all different types of things. So it's what moderators do.
Here for.
Yeah, it's what moderators do. We just throw out and try to make your life difficult. Can you describe the typical evening MBA applicant? Work experience? Are they employed? Do people in the past, have they come into the program sort of as a full-time approach, but it's in the evening? Average years of work experience, etc.
Sure. What's nice is that there's a lot that all evening MBA students have in common, but there's a whole lot of variety there as well. So what every evening MBA student has in common is that they're going to have at least 2 to 3 years of full-time progressive work experience. They're going to be fully employed while they're entering into the program. And then that's pretty much it. Everything else is a big variety. So the types of jobs, the types of undergraduate degrees and educational backgrounds really varies. Everything from practicing physicians to small business owners to traditional corporate banking or that kind of thing, whether it's sales or construction or CPG. There's such a variety in terms of the industries represented and functional areas represented in the evening MBA class. So companies that very well, like Home Depot and Coca-Cola, to lots of companies you've never heard of before that are newer and exciting, like MailChimp, some technology companies, to various areas of Emory University, Emory Healthcare. That's what really creates a very interesting and diverse classroom conversation. But it is designed for working professionals, so you do need to be located in Atlanta and employed at the time of the start of the program. We look to see at least 2 to 3 years of as I said, full-time work experience, because once again, that's really about how you're contributing to the classroom conversation, and the coursework is designed to draw on your experience, particularly with the evening program. What happened that day? What's going on? When there are changes in regulations or the global economy, how did that affect your organization and your manager's mindset, or what you're doing in terms of your forecasting and projections, and how does that apply to the specific thing you're talking about in class that night? And then how were you able to use your new classroom information and skill set and apply it the next day. That's a big part of why the evening program students are so successful and grow so rapidly in their careers while they're also in school, is because there's really day one impact in terms of application of new knowledge, and that's absolutely recognized by employers and managers. And that sort of thing. So in terms of other aspects, the average years of work experience tends to be between 5 and 6. So the range, most students will fall between the 3 years and the 8-year range. And again, from a variety of industries in terms of academic backgrounds, a solid undergraduate coursework is important to demonstrate readiness in the MBA classroom, but the undergraduate degrees vary as well. So we'll have a good number of traditional business undergrad degrees, economics degrees, accounting, as well as engineering, liberal arts, communications, advertising. There's really the gamut there, which is beneficial to everyone in the classroom.
So here's a question we get all the time: scholarships.
Mm.
Are they available? When do people need to apply to be considered for that? Is there a separate application? How do scholarships work?
Sure. For all the programs, there are scholarships available, so merit scholarships in particular. For the full-time program, you'll see there's definitely an earlier deadline. You want to make sure you are able to get your application in by, particularly for the larger named scholarships if you want to be considered for those. So there's not a separate application to be considered for scholarships. There are separate applications for center fellowships, and all those details can be found on the website. You want to look through those, in particular the Center for Alternative Investment Fellowships, the Social Enterprise Fellows, and the Marketing Analytics Center Fellows. But otherwise, it's not a separate application. You want to make sure you're on that earlier time frame to have time to go through the interview process and consideration. For evening program, there's no separate application. We do offer merit scholarships, which are partial and cover about a quarter of tuition. Again, you want to do your best to get in by the 4th round and try not to wait to the last round. But for that too, if you're able to apply in an earlier round, it does give you time. If you are not offered a merit scholarship at the time of admission, but you choose to enroll, you do have the opportunity to retake your test or add to your application to be reconsidered. And merit scholarships for the for the executive MBA program, there are scholarships available. It's more detailed and more individualized, so you want to contact our executive MBA admission staff directly through our website. Carolyn Grimes is happy to talk with you about whether your profile might meet one of the available scholarships.
Great. So a few questions now about, again, the working through the program, and I think this is a great example, although it will be different by program. So this student would appreciate your thoughts about concentrations and can you pursue 2 at a time? So similar to a double major in undergrad. So one, is it possible and is it advisable? And which programs is available?
Definitely. Well, as we talked about, the number of electives is really provides you with a lot of variety and depth and breadth in terms of academic areas. So for the full-time and the evening program specifically, you absolutely have the opportunity to build a concentration or more than one. Typically, a concentration consists of 3 to 4 electives, and you have 8 to 10 plus elective opportunities during the program. So there are a few considerations you want to think about in terms of your concentration. They're not formal or declared. They're not going to be on your diploma, but if it's something that makes sense to include on your resume or in your interview process, it's something you might want to talk to the career coaches about. What's going to be marketable, what's going to be really valuable in terms of skill set and courses and attractive to employers. You also have your academic advisor in the program office, who are fantastic resources about for determining which is going to be which courses are going to fit with what it is that you are really aiming to learn, what skill set you want to add to your repertoire. And the faculty too really enjoy talking about their electives. They like to pitch their electives and have open door policies. You can absolutely set up time to meet with a faculty member to talk more about what will be taking place in a particular course, if it's what you expect, or they may be able to advise you to take something else if you need to build a different skill set for whatever it is you want to be doing in the workplace, and setting you up for success there. But also being able to pursue your interest. So you do have the ability to do more than one concentration, so you can challenge yourself and try something new, try something different, and then also build a skill set in your career planned area too.
Okay, Kathleen, I'm going to end with probably the greatest ending question that anyone could ask. Thank you so much for asking this question because we would probably bring it up anyway, but it's perfect to end on this. And for everyone watching, I've put up the slide with contact information for MBA admissions. Thank you for asking your questions. We'll make this our closing remark, and feel free to email that email address if you have any others, and then we'll reach out to people again for more follow-up if you had a chance to talk with the ladies in the back. So the question, how is Goizueta different from other business schools?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic question. It's something we really are proud of here is our community, and that's based on a small, intentionally small by design school. So you'll see in our full-time program, we bring in about 160 students for the 2 year, about 40 to 50 for the 1 year. For our evening program, about 90, and then for our executive programs, 30 and 60, depending on which format. But those are all really intentional sizes so that you have a diversity in the classroom, but also you're going to know your entire cohort. You're going to know them well. You're going to know the students in the other programs too. This is the foundation of your professional network, as well as your personal support system as you go through school, as well as your friends for the rest of your life. This is a intense and enjoyable, beneficial experience in so many ways. That small school design is different than any other school that you'll find in a major city, such as Atlanta, a business center like Atlanta. So you have not only the community, the tight-knit community here, the engaged alumni that come out of that tight-knit community, and then so many business resources here in a city. We're in the top 5 for Fortune 500 headquarters. You have such a wealth of resources in terms of networking and connections and speakers and business experts and innovators right here on campus. The faculty draw on them all the time in the classroom, and then case competitions, projects, consulting things that come in. It just wouldn't be possible in a different location. So that small size, the huge resource in the Atlanta, and then the emphasis on day one readiness and day one application, I think is just a huge advantage to our students who not only enjoy their time at Goizueta, but draw on it for the rest of their careers and stay engaged and committed to their Goizueta family and friends.
And if I may add, too, I think that one thing about Atlanta that is so exciting is that it is a place for doing global business. Atlanta has the 3rd highest concentration of Fortune 500 company headquarters in the country. So there is a chance to meet people that work in global business, a chance to learn global business, and to travel. And a perfect example, I'm looking at where you all are right now. There are people on 5 different continents right now listening to us. So, So thank you all very much for spending some time with us today, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future. Thank you again, Kathleen, and thank you to the ladies in the back.